NBA stars are coming home just in time for the holidays, or at least they're getting back on the court. The New York Knicks are all over the place, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is changing his game again. But is it sus or sustainable? I'll ask Matt and Hayes. That's all ahead on Locked On NBA. Let's get it.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On NBA. Thanks for making us your first listen of the day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is sponsored by Built. Start earning points on rent you're already paying by going to joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNBA. That's joinbilt.com/LockedOnNBA. I'm Doug Branson, host of Locked On Hornets and your shot clock Sherpa, guiding you through the NBA's biggest stories with the help of Locked On's local experts. With me are two of Locked On's premier national NBA experts from the Locked On Nuggets podcast and senior writer for the Action Network. We've got Matt Moore, and from the Locked On Bulls podcast, we've got Hayes. Matt Hayes, Ja Morant is back after missing 8 games with a hip injury. He scored 22 points and put together an immediate highlight reel. He got right back into gear. Hayes, which did you like better? His one-handed, high-flying yam or his physics-bending behind-the-back pass to Brandon Clark? Which one was better?
The pass. We know that that Ja Morant can ham it on anybody. That pass was something spectacular to behold. Like it was great to see. And I love when Ja's playing with confidence, because Ja can do a little bit of everything, and that's the thing that makes Ja Morant special. Like, he always does something that you're likely to see something any night that he does that you're just like, hey, it's breathtaking. Ja Morant is just that type of athlete. He's that type of player, and I love seeing Ja Morant healthy and out there on the court playing well.
Come on, man. It's Thanksgiving. How are we not going to say the yam? It's got to be the yam for Thanksgiving. I like that. I like the behind-the-back pass. I always love the pass. The lob to Jaren Jackson Jr., very underrated here in the highlight reel. It's really good to see this Grizzlies team finally getting healthy and seeing what they're capable of. And they don't have Gigi Jackson yet, and they don't have Marcus Smart yet, but they're heading in the right direction. And last night, even though it was against the Blazers team that's rebuilding at home, you can see what this Memphis team is supposed to be, and it looks like a force in the Western Conference, which only adds to the strength and will make for better games and more compelling storylines. It's really great to see Ja back and making these plays.
Okay, I want to talk about that more in a second, their place within the Western Conference, get Hayes' take on that. But let's first go out to Joe Mullinax and Locked On Grizzlies for his take on Ja's return.
Joe, what you should feel is excitement, because that's what Ja Morant brings to the basketball court each and every single time he steps out on the floor. Doesn't always end in a resulting exciting play, but it feels like, and that is one of the amazing compliments that I can pay Ja Morant, the feeling that you get when you watch that guy play basketball. That is what it's about. That is what is called box office. He is the most must-see attraction in the National Basketball Association. I didn't say he's the best player, because he's not. There are several guys that are better basketball players than Ja Morant. Ja's in the top 15. He's closer to 15 than he is 8, right? He's not a guy that's in that marquee in terms of the best, but he is the most must-see.
Agree or disagree with Joe there, Matt? Is he the most must-see? I think you had a tweet last night that called him the most sensational, or what was the adjective that you used for Ja Morant?
He's spectacular. Kyrie is sensational. And I've been on this, that you will watch Ja. Nobody gets me off of the couch like Ja Morant. He makes these plays, and I am jumping up off the couch, scaring the pets and the children, freaking out because of something that Ja has done. He is unbelievable. The athleticism, the skill, the way that he's able to hang through the air, the power that he finishes at the rim. There is just, to me, there's nobody more spectacular. He is that box office, I think, is a great word for it, because he is like those movies that are full of special effects and just like awesome spectacle. The writing comes and goes, but if you're just looking for the visual effects, nothing beats Ja for me night to night.
Ja's a special talent in this league, man. It's just so good. So, like I said earlier, it's so fun to watch Ja Morant play basketball. And the confidence, like, can we get more petty Ja? I need more Ja against LeBron. That's the only thing that I'll say. I need more petty Ja, but other than that, as far as the athleticism, the things he does on the basketball court, he's a special talent.
But health has been a concern, and he sustained the hip injury on another high-flying play towards the rim in that game against the Lakers. So when he, drives through the lane, do you look at that and say, wow, that's box office, I must see that? Or do you think that's a little reckless for a guy that has had multiple injuries?
I'll say, I'll go. I'm worried. I'm terrified. You want to talk spectacle? It's like, what's he gonna do? Also, please don't get hurt. Every single time I am terrified he's gonna get hurt. Every single play, Hayes, I am always like, please don't get hurt. Please don't get hurt. Please. He lands on one foot. It terrifies me. Like, there's just a million ways where I could see it going wrong. I love watching him, but God, it's scary to watch.
Yeah, I feel the same way sometimes watching Ja play, as far as just worried about him injuring himself, as how I did after Derrick Rose's injury. It's just like the natural way that they play, that herky-jerky motion, the way, like, it's always going to be a little concerning on, is the next injury coming for Ja Morant? But I mean, he's confident, and he's special. But yeah, I'm always going to be worried if Ja's going to get hurt again, because we've seen it so much over a relatively short NBA career so far.
Okay, let's stay here. We'll talk about the New York Knicks. I'm really interested in this New York Knicks team. They're all over the place. They're scoring 1 billion points. They're giving up 1 billion points. I want to talk about that coming up, but let's stay here for a minute. So Ja Morant, if he does stay healthy, how far can he carry this Grizzlies team? Matt talked about it a little bit there. I'm interested in your take, Hayes. How far can this Grizzlies team go in the Western Conference if he's fully healthy?
If he's fully healthy and the team's fully healthy, because they got injury concerns right all over that team. But if they're a fully healthy team, like, they're not, I don't have them as a contender in the West, like, but they could be right at that next tier under there, to where, depending on how the brackets are the seeding shakes out, or who their opponents is, if they catch a break on some teams, I could see them making a Western Conference Finals. I just don't have them right now in the tier of being a championship contender, because I think the health is too big of a concern. They still got some holes and some things they need to fix on their roster overall. But I think that a healthy Memphis Grizzlies team is right there in the Western Conference.
I think the West is more open than we kind of talk about. And I think that there's this kind of idea of that you have to reach this extremely high bar. If you accept the premise that OKC still is young and is going to be questionable in the playoffs and has some stuff to figure out, which I think is fair, there's just not a lot of teams that I'm like, no, you cannot beat them. Like, you're good, but not that good. No, like Phoenix, Dallas, Golden State, all of these teams, I'm like, no, they're beatable. And so I think Memphis is right there. They've got the number 5 defense, schedule adjusted. Now, their strength of schedule has been atrocious. They have the second easiest schedule in the league so far. So that's going to obviously tick up. But Memphis has shown they can go toe-to-toe with good teams. So if they get healthy, and especially this is going on, no Gigi Jackson, and Desmond Bane has played, but he doesn't look comfortable yet. When they get Bane going, that offense, which is 13th, is only going to get better. I think Memphis legitimately is a contender in the Western Conference. I think they are live to win the West and go to the finals.
Okay, weak schedule, but they've taken advantage of it. 11-7 and winners of 3 in a row. We'll see if they can keep it going. And coming up on the Locked On NBA podcast, got a crazy Knicks team right now. OG Anunoby just put up 40 points all of a sudden. Karl Anthony Towns was the story, though, from Locked On Knicks. We'll get to that in just a moment. And we've got to play some sus or sustainable with OKC, with Jimmy Butler trying to turn around things in Miami, with LaMelo Ball scoring out of his mind right now. That's all ahead today on Locked On NBA. Today's episode of Locked On NBA is brought to you by Built. Listen up, renters. Ever feel like you're stuck in the loop of rent payments, just watching your money vanish into thin air? It's time to turn that rent game around and start earning some serious rewards. That's where Built Rewards comes in. Built is breaking ground as a neighborhood rewards program that hooks you up with points on your rent every month. Pay your rent and watch the Built points roll in. Use points to jet off on a dream vacation. Put your points towards a flight or hotel stay with 500 plus airlines and 700,000 plus hotels and properties. You can also use your points to book fitness studio classes, redeem them toward a future rent payment. They're designed to meet your lifestyle. Pay rent hassle-free through the Built Rewards app. Your rent game just got a major upgrade. Built points have been consistently ranked the highest value point currency by the Points Guy and by Bankrate. Earn points by paying rent right now when you go to joinbuilt.com/lockedonnba. That's joinbilt.com/lockedonnba. And make sure to use our URL so that they know we sent you. Again, that's joinbuilt.com/lockedonnba to start earning points with your rent payments today. This episode is also sponsored by Robinhood. With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get the rates and perks usually reserved for the high society. Now the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn the very liberal rate of 4.25% APY on uninvested cash and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on IRA account contributions. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here, and it's with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For product-specific disclosures, visit robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rates may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold, LLC. More Locked On NBA ahead. Thanks again for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. The New York Knicks put up 145 points in regulation on the Denver Nuggets in a bounce-back game after a terrible loss to the Jazz over the weekend. What's the biggest factor in the quick turnaround? Let's hear first from Locked On Knicks host Gavin Shaw.
Karl-Anthony Towns in this one. Alex, I thought this was, if not his best defensive game of the season, top 2 or 3, and it certainly started on the perimeter for the Knicks, but I thought maybe the single biggest difference from the Jazz game to this game was how engaged he was and how you just saw over and over again, like he made an effort at the rim, and it's kind of the same thing we always said with Julius Randle, right? That is the only thing you can ask from him, and like he was going straight up, but the biggest thing to me was that he was going chest to chest with guys at the rim. It does feel like it's worth more than one game. Maybe the Knicks come around and put together like a just utter crap effort against the Mavericks on Wednesday. I hope not, because you're going to be there. But this has me feeling a lot better about things.
Matt, you are the host of Locked On Nuggets, so you got a close look at the New York Knicks. Which version of this Knicks team better represents who they are right now?
Between the Jazz and the Nuggets game, oh boy. I'll go Nuggets. I'll give them some credit here because the offense really is killer. Jalen Brunson running pick and roll with Towns. There's no real way to guard it effectively because if you double Brunson, he's going to be able to hit the pass. If you switch on him, then Towns is going to have a pretty good matchup, or Brunson's going to take your big off the dribble. And if you play drop, then Brunson's going to hurt you. For some reason, the Nuggets were playing drop last night. Pathetic performance from Denver. With all respect to Locked On Knicks, though, the defense. No, they shot the lights out. They shot the ever-loving lights out in this game. Really awesome offensive performance. OG Anunoby was incredible. It shows you the ceiling. I'm still looking at the defense. All right, well, when things get tough and the shots aren't going and you're not facing a team that looks like it was hungover in LA for 2 days, then what does the defense look like? That's my real question with the Knicks, because the offense, I think, is legit, Hayes.
Yeah, the offense is definitely legit. I also got to love Matt Moore, even talking crap about his own team. Gotta love the honesty there. But this Knicks team, I think that the offense is definitely going to be a legit thing. I think when you look at how Jalen Brunson just his creativeness on the ball, he's the only on-ball creator that this Knicks team really has, and that plays a big part into them being what they are. But they were always going to be a team that had to learn. Like, they had a lot of change there, and so they're learning on that curve. But I think this is going to be a really good team in the Eastern Conference.
Matt is not the only person being honest about the Denver Nuggets performance. Michael Malone, head coach, in response to a reporter's question about chalking up or flushing a game where you give up a billion points to the Knicks, said, quote, "F that, man. No, we're not flushing. You don't flush when you get embarrassed. You don't flush when you gave up 145 points. You don't flush when you didn't play hard, didn't play with effort, physicality. I'm not flushing anything."
Funny story about that. We were trying to figure out, what do you ask, right? When you're in the presser, what do you ask after the team plays that badly? And Bennett Durando from the Post, who asked that question, and I were going back and forth. And I was I was going to ask, do you just throw that game out? Do you flush it? Is that what you do? And so Bennett's all right. And he was you want to ask it? And I was no, you're the beat writer. You ask. So Bennett asked it, and he gets jumped down his throat. So thanks for taking the grenade, Bennett. I appreciate it, buddy.
Oh, that's amazing. I'm interested. Not flushing anything. I feel like the Knicks punishing Michael Malone's family. He's not flushing anything, folks. Not after this game. Stinking up the whole house.
Yeah, that's pretty gross. Pretty gross.
Okay. Let's move on to sus or sustainable. It's I'm going to say it's my favorite game. I won't speak for Matt and Hayes. We've come up with a few games here on this new version of Locked On NBA, and I love sus or sustainable. I have a trend in the NBA. We're going to hear from a Locked On local expert, and then Matt and Hayes will tell you if it's sus or sustainable. And first, it's the OKC Thunder, who have back-to-back wins since Isaiah Hartenstein debuted, but it's SGA who Rylan Stiles from Locked On Thunder is noticing more and more.
He casually dominated this game. Like, all of a sudden, you look up and he's got 30 points through 3 quarters. He ends with 37 points. He has 4 rebounds, 11 assists, 6 turnovers. And the 6 turnovers, like 4 of those happened in pretty short order. And he was able to adjust and clean things up, clean up his dribble. The Kings defense swarmed him, and he didn't panic. He made really high-level reads to create advantages for the rest of his teammates. And you've seen him take a step forward as a playmaker. And this has been an aspect of his game that we've really been waiting on. Like, every year, he comes back with a new element. And you saw it at FIBA, where he was a better passer, and now you're seeing it in the NBA, where he is looking the best he's looked as a true point guard, as a true passer.
So since Chet Holmgren went down with his injury, the Oklahoma City Thunder have asked Shai to do a tremendous amount to keep their season moving forward. And it seems like he's doing that, particularly with his passing, as you just heard there from Rylan. So Hayes, sus or sustainable, SGA, elite playmaker?
Sustainable. And that's mainly just because I believe SGA can do anything you need him to do. I think that's the type of talent that SGA is. He's an adaptable player. If you need him to lock somebody up, you need him to score, he can do anything. And so I put my faith in SGA. I think that this is sustainable for SGA, mainly because, like I said, I think SGA can do anything you ask him to do if you give him the right talent around him.
As much as I love Shai, I think it's sustainable, but I think it's sustainable because of Mark Daigneault, because the offense that he has built and the way that team plays, a lot of what generates assists is guys being in the right spot and making the right plays. And then the playmaker has to be able to be smart enough and gifted enough as a passer to deliver on those sequences. And Shai, to Hayes' credit, absolutely is. But Mark Daigneault, the way that this team plays, nobody makes a bad cut. Nobody's in the wrong spot. You never see 2 guys on the Thunder crowding one another and messing up spacing. You never see 2 guys cutting at the same time and messing up the underneath plays. It's the timing is always perfect. And with their ability to spread the floor, especially, I also say this, with Isaiah Hartenstein now in the short roll, as good as Chet Holmgren was, Hartenstein's been great. That's only adding to kind of the weaponry that they've got and forcing the defense to make more tough decisions. Shai's a gifted playmaker, but he's also in a system that makes the most of it as well.
You did the comparison there between Hartenstein and Chet Holmgren. We haven't seen the two play together yet because Hartenstein gets injured at the beginning of the season, and then Chet Holmgren shortly after that. After this game, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was quoted as saying, Hartenstein is a dream big for a marquee player. So I'm going to do a little forecasting sus or sustainable. OKC's ability to work both Hartenstein and Chet Holmgren in this lineup together. Is that sus or sustainable, Hayes?
That's sustainable. To Matt's point earlier, Matt Daigneault as a coach here, he's going to find a way to do anything. He's going to find a way to best utilize the talent. I also think these guys are motivated. Chet is a player that's adaptable. He can do anything you need him to do on the court as well. I think him moving to the 4 may actually unlock a little bit more of his game while taking advantage of that defensive versatility that he has. I think that once Chet and Isaiah Hartenstein are both healthy and out there on the court together, I think the OKC Thunder are running away with the Western Conference personally.
I'll say it's sustainable long term. I think the question is going to be when Chet's going to be back so late, and they're going to have to figure that out when things are messy in March and guys are tired and exhausted. Trying to find the best version of this team is going to be a little difficult, and they're going to have to kind of problem solve going into the playoffs. That's what makes Chet's injury suck so bad. At the same time, it's going to be fine because the Thunder are going to win the Western Conference by 7 games and have a pretty comfortable first round series to acclimate. But I do have like, as much as I like, there's a way to make it work very seamlessly with Chet's ability to spread the floor. But I think that when we see them finally together, there'll be some hiccups because it is not a natural fit with the size that both of them bring to the table.
Okay, that's double sustainable from both of you. No susses yet, but I think we can suss out a sus coming up on the Locked On NBA podcast. We're going to keep playing. Jimmy Butler has been part of a turnaround for the Miami Heat. LaMelo Ball is on a scoring tear, and Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal are going to be back in a big cup matchup between the Phoenix Suns and the Los Angeles Lakers. That's all ahead on Locked On NBA. Today's episode of Locked On NBA is brought to you by Skims. This one's for the fellas. If you're like most guys, you probably haven't put much thought into upgrading your underwear in a while. But with Skims launching their men's line, it's time to rethink what comfort and support actually feel like. Skims is known for quality and fit, and now they're bringing that same attention to men's underwear. Imagine boxer briefs that stay in place, briefs that breathe, and fabrics that feel like they're made just for you. Skims has a range of options, whether you're looking for the classic cotton boxer brief that won't ride up or the stretch boxer brief that moves with you all day long. These aren't your usual store-bought packs, okay? Skims has tailored each style to keep its shape and deliver comfort that lasts. These briefs are perfect for anyone who wants their underwear to stay where it belongs without sacrificing comfort. So shop Skims Men's at skims.com/LockedOnNBA today. That's skims.com/LockedOnNBA. More Locked On NBA ahead. Back here on Locked On NBA with more sus or sustainable, and we're going to the Miami Heat because the Milwaukee Bucks are not the only team dragging themselves out of the Eastern Conference basement, folks. Miami has won 3 out of 4, and they have a big cup matchup tonight against the Milwaukee Bucks. Here's Wes Goldberg of Locked On Heat with more on what a healthy Jimmy Butler has done for Miami.
Jimmy Butler has to play like a star, or else the whole thing, the whole apparatus doesn't work. It falls apart. Jimmy Butler, when he's posting a 20% or more usage rating in his first 5 seasons in Miami's 155-84. That's like a 53 win pace. Those numbers go way up as Jimmy Butler's usage goes up, right? When he's like 26, 27%, I mean, this team wins games at almost a 60 win pace. It's pretty remarkable. But when Jimmy's lower than a 20% usage, Miami's 22-29 in those games. I mean, they're like flat out bad. This season, those numbers still hold. Miami's 5-2 in the games where Jimmy Butler posts a 20% more usage rating, and 0-3 when he posts less.
Okay, a lot of numbers there, but it basically comes down to more Jimmy, more wins for Miami. But is that sus or sustainable? Jimmy Butler leading the Heat into Eastern Conference relevancy. Matt Moore.
Sus! What are we doing here? It's nice. It's cute. It's adorable. I don't want to dismiss Jimmy Butler for what he's done in his career. He's been amazing. He's got so many big playoff moments before the finals. But like, look at where he's at and how often is like, oh, like massive Jimmy Butler and then vanishes into the wind, and then massive Jimmy Butler and then vanishes into the wind. Like we have zero reason to believe that this is going to sustain itself. Sustainability is the entire problem with guys at his age, with his miles, after playing so many minutes for Tibbs. And he is not a guy who every single night is going to come out there. Now, it's good that he's in this place where he's playing like this and they're beating teams like the Mavericks at home without Luka Doncic. But I am not going to buy into this Heat team. I don't think the offense is good enough. I don't think the defense is good enough. I'm not buying the Heat.
Sus as hell. How about that? Is that an answer? Because like when it comes down to it, like Jimmy Butler, you've seen him go on these runs in the playoffs. The fact that we're now needing this in the regular season to just look like a competent team, it's not sustainable at all. You're going to burn Jimmy Butler out. And as we've seen, Jimmy Butler is getting older. That's not a slight to Jimmy Butler. Age catches up with every player eventually, and Jimmy Butler has started being on that decline. It's great what he's able to do. Back-to-back 30-point games from Jimmy, shooting the ball, I think over 60% in both those games. Like, that's great. But is that sustainable? No, not by any stretch of the imagination is that sustainable for Jimmy to keep doing that. And that is why the Miami Heat coming into the season had hoped that Bam was going to take his game to the next level, and he just haven't. Somebody else is going to have to step up. and be consistent, because these performances from Jimmy are special. They're great. You love them when you have them, but you're going to burn Jimmy Butler out early into the season. And then instead of they're going on their late season splurge where they go on the late season run, they're going to start declining at the end of this season, in my opinion.
Okay, so you both have been aligned so far. We're sustainable twice, and then sus twice. But I think I can get you to disagree on this one. At least, if not with each other, you might disagree with me. That's because I host Locked On Hornets, and one Hornet right now is tearing it up, scoring-wise at least. LaMelo Ball, he scored 35-plus in 3 straight. He has scored 40-plus in back-to-back games. He leads the league in 30-plus point games. He took that over from Giannis Antetokounmpo. Matt, is this sus or is it sustainable?
It's sustainable, Doug, because he has the 3rd highest usage of all time currently. No one else is shooting. Miles Bridges comes back. That probably equation probably changes a little bit, right? Like that he'll probably take up some of the usage. But like, this has been my entire thing with LaMelo, and it drives me nuts, is that he is such a gifted playmaker, and he is so capable of making the right plays. And maybe it was just coaching. I don't think so. But maybe it was just coaching. Maybe that he just needs the right coach to get through to him. Maybe Charles Lee over time will get there. But, man, he has these sequences where it's like great pick and roll read, kick to the corner, awesome sequence. Oh, he made the right read, pull up, jumper, clean, great shot. And then he'll have 4 or 5 plays where he's like, YOLO! And he's just going, just chucking. And I don't understand why a guy with that many ball skills can't keep himself. He has no discipline possession to possession, and it drives me nuts because he could be so great. We see this with his scoring outputs, but for me, it's sustainable because I think he will keep playing like this and shooting like this, but I don't think that's the best way for them to win games, Hayes.
Yeah, I mean, he could if you give him this usage rate, yeah, he can average crazy amount of points. But look at how many of those performances that have ended up being in losses. A lot of them. Like, so it's not winning basketball. And I think that's the thing of this. Like, if you just want LaMelo Ball to put up points, he has no problem doing that. Giving the ball every play, he's going to be able to put up crazy scoring numbers, and I have no doubts of that. But if you're talking about the Hornets winning basketball games, to keep in mind, I had the Hornets as one of my dark horses for the playoffs because I think when LaMelo Ball is healthy, they should be able to be that team. I want this team to be good. I want this team to win games. Heck, I host a show now every day with Doug. I want Doug to have wins to talk about. Doug deserves to be able to talk about a winning team. But it's just, if you want to win basketball games, it's just not going to happen with playing this way.
So I'm in agreement mostly with everything that you've said, that like sustainability wise, this probably is sustainable because not only do they not have their 3rd option scoring, they don't have their 4th option, their 5th option. They've been missing both of their centers, like the centers that are actually NBA size and skill centers. So you can't really like effectively run any kind of pick and roll game. So it has been a lot of LaMelo Ball isolation, and he just has the talent and the skills to knock down some of these 3-point shots, and his floater is completely locked in. But I'm actually going to say this is sus for a few reasons. Those centers are going to come back. I think Charles Lee has had the courage to do some things with LaMelo Ball, benching him late in that Brooklyn Nets close loss, to get through to LaMelo, to transform him into a player that is a little bit more playoff ready. It's going to take time, but I think scoring at this particular level is not going to be necessary in the future for the Hornets. So I think he's still going to be an elite playmaker and elite offensive player, maybe just not quite at this crazy scoring level. Matt.
And to give him a little bit of credit here, the Hornets have a 98 offensive rating when he's on the bench.
It's bad.
So this is always the kind of thing that players like this get stuck in, which is you say like, why is he taking up this kind of usage? And then defenders and fans will say, stands will say, he has to. Look at what happens if he doesn't do this. And the answer is like, there's a third way here, which is he scores efficiently. He throws in 25, but he makes everybody better. That to me is going to have to be the key for him. Is he's going to lift all boats here. He's got to be the tide that lifts everybody up instead of being the ship that parts the waters or some sort of other comparison. He's got to be that tide for them.
Okay, 2 players that definitely Phoenix is hoping will lift all of their boats. Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, they are making their return tonight against the Lakers in an NBA Cup matchup. Should Phoenix take it slow or let those big stars shine? We'll hear first from Locked On Suns.
Kevin Durant tweaks his calf again to the same degree that he just did before, I wonder if they'll be as cautious. I wonder if they learned from last year that, hey, we just got to get everyone back, and when everyone gets back, we're going to be awesome. Or if they're saying, hey, early in the season, we're going to nurse this. But if this happens again in December, January, we're not going to take 2 to 3 weeks off, 7 games off. I wonder how cautious they're going to be in the future, because at some point you got to play.
They do still need to cut back on Durant's minutes, because otherwise, if anything comes up along the way the rest of the season, all fans and media and people like us are just going to be sitting there going, I told you so once again, because it's just not sustainable.
Minutes and
All right, tough spot for Phoenix because it seems like they're invested in the now. They want a championship right now, but they've got some stars that are older, have a lot of miles. What do they do in this situation, Matt? Do they say, all right, we're just going to gun it, play Kevin Durant at that same usage that got us to that crazy hot start? Or was this injury a wake-up call that, hey, we have to manage this a little bit better?
I think it's the best way to kind of go about it, I think, honestly, is give him nights off, not games off. When KD plays, play KD. Like, have him do this. A lot of it is, if you're going to go through the work of pregame treatment, pregame warm up, pregame all of the things that go into your pregame stuff, and then play in the game, the difference of 30 minutes versus 35 minutes, of a 25% usage rate versus a 20% usage rate, that's not really that significant. Okay, it's over the course of a season when you do that across 70 games that the extra time and usage starts to really pull on you. So the key is going to be use him in good spots, use him effectively, and then rest him. They've got to look at the San Antonio Spurs and how they managed Tim Duncan in the mid-2010s and take games off for KD to allow him to kind of be there, games off for Beal to get him the necessary time off, and then use your superior talent advantage versus the weaker squads when you should get by. Teams will often go the opposite, where they're like, let's win the games that we know we can win and then give up the coin flips. I don't think Phoenix should do that. You're good enough to beat the bad teams. Use KD to beat the good teams, and that will get you to where the win total that you want to get to.
Hayes, 30 seconds here.
Yeah, let him play. Just let him play. Let KD play. Rest him when it makes sense. Be protective over him where you need to be. But at the end of the day, I've seen more people get hurt when they're trying to avoid getting hurt. Let him play. Just be selective of when you let him play. That's it.
Let us know what you think in the YouTube comments on our community page, youtube.com/@LockedOnNBA. If you like what you heard today, subscribe to Locked On NBA wherever you get podcasts, including YouTube. We've previewed a couple of great matchups tonight. Make sure you're listening to the Locked On NBA Game Time on this feed to recap all of those games. Go to LockedOnDaily.com, find your favorite team's free and daily newsletter. Thanks for making Locked On NBA your first listen. Enjoy tonight's action. Be kind to each other, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow on Locked On NBA.